struggle because of really a tale of two seasons for them last year, in which they got roughed up pretty good at certain times to start the season, finished the season fairly well especially against Kentucky and Clemson, but obviously don't make a bowl. But do we get too caught up in the negative? Do we get too caught up in the end of the season and you're that person who says, well, Kentucky and Clemson's offense were not good?
That's a fact. That is very true, but the defense was not good for the rest of the year. So they did figure some things. They did figure things out. That might be a choice that everybody has to make, and that might be a poll question we could ask as we approach the season. Are you on board? Do you want to because you have to get in early on these things so you can say, I told you so.
We
have to get in early on
We are
these
very
things.
proud of our efforts to get in early on South Carolina men's basketball and the job that they did. We feel pretty good about that. Even Lamont Paris is given credit to our program for being in early. So, yeah, I think that's something that we start to discuss as we go through this week into another scrimmage. Are you in on the defense?
We give this is an early buy-in, just like an IPO. For a stock, you can get in here early while the price is low. The price will go up as things change. So this is your early initial public offering on the defense.
So we will get into that. Yesterday, the AP Top 25. This is so irrelevant, yet Preston, it gave me good feels yesterday to look and see a poll, to see articles written about it. ESPN wrote
irrelevant to who?
I think it's irrelevant to everybody.
I don't know.
Okay. All right.
It depends. I think there's a couple.
Well, let me take that back. It is actually not irrelevant to us because it gives us discussion fodder to be like, ooh, that looks overrated. Underrated. Gives us discussion, but I don't know if the preseason poll. This is going to be interesting to see as we move forward with the new college football playoff. Kind of like college basketball. I'll be honest, I no longer have any clue what's going on. Unless South Carolina's ranked, I have no clue what is going on with the college basketball poll on a week-in to week-out basis. In my lifetime, the college football poll, I've paid attention to every week of the season when it comes out, even the preseason predictions. And yesterday there was some scorching hot takes on who was overrated, who was underrated, who might be the team that goes from outside the top 25 in the initial ranking to finishing inside the top 10. As apparently there has been one team that's done that every single season with the exception of 2020 and 2021. Last year's version of that is a team South Carolina will face again this year who's got their own high hopes in the Missouri Tigers. So we will have to take a look at that and see, all right, who makes that jump from unranked into the top 10 when the season comes to a conclusion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And obviously, the team that we're talking about that we will see, it'll be a big game for us. Yeah, I don't know if this is irrelevant for some teams on here. For some teams it is. For some teams, they might post it on their list of accomplishments for the year.
Okay. All right. So we will get into that just because I've been out. Might recap just a little bit of the Olympics. Preston Thorne, go back down that path. I don't know yesterday what it means, and I'm trying to decide because he's so young and he's still such an unknown. But Victor Wembanyama essentially saying yesterday, give me 4 more years, I'm going to be a problem for everybody.
That's what's up.
You like that?
That's cool.
You like Wemby basically coming out and saying, just, all right, I learned this year. This year I've learned. NBA, the FIBA, which is the Olympics or the international play. Basically, he's like, all right, I got it. I got you all now. I'm coming.
I think that's a fair assessment because if you look at him being the leader of the team from France and being 20 years old and our leaders of the USA team basically being in rocking chairs and being old dudes, that might be something down the road that we might have to worry about as a team.
I might have caught y'all talking a little bit about it. I'm not worried about Team USA in basketball. There's a whole group of rising stars coming right behind. Look, we knew all these guys. We knew all the olds. We knew all the grays. Steph Curry going out completely on top in one of the best shooting displays over, a minute and 42 seconds, I believe is what it was, a minute 45, something in that nature. There is a whole group of young bucks ready to come in and be that next group and just establish themselves. And I think it's led by Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum, who will take the reins, and then we'll see who else rises to the occasion with the young people, if you will, and continues to build it. But that was really fun to watch Steph Curry there on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, greatest shooter of all time, hands down, undisputed, and he proved it on a global stage. And it was really cool to see him do that and him do the celebrations and all the things that we've gotten used to seeing. To see that greatness in action was really awesome.
Off topic slightly, I do have a strict and strange bone to pick with Steph Curry.
Okay.
This goes back to Sunday night, where after the race, which was absolutely phenomenal, I'm excited to talk about that. That was absolutely something else. Thank you, Austin Dillon, for bringing NASCAR back to the forefront, giving me somebody to completely dislike. All for that. My man, Denny Hamlin, sounding poetic, sounding fantastic. Denny Hamlin was all over it. But I don't know if you two, you probably didn't, because y'all actually got up and came in here yesterday morning. There was it turned out to be a mockumentary that came on. Now, apparently this has been a series that Steph Curry has put together.
Okay.
But have you seen this?
I've seen the advertisements for it.
Okay, I had no clue about it. It took me a minute to figure out if this was real or not.
Okay. Yeah. I saw the advertisements for it. I forget what the name of it is.
Mr. Throwback.
But the co-star he's in several other sitcoms.
I got to go back and look.
I believe he was in New Girl and things of that nature. So, yeah. That's on you.
I've got to go back. Yeah, I was completely unaware. If you haven't seen this, it's called Mr. Throwback. Apparently it's on Peacock, but it came on I guess like a preview episode came on USA after the race on Saturday night.
Good cross branding.
And so I was unaware of what was going on. So as I'm about to go to bed, call it a night, all of a sudden this comes on and I'm like, wait, is this real? Like, this guy was actually better than Steph Curry in high school and everything, but of course, as I'm watching it and the mind is working, I'm like, so he got into drugs or alcohol or went down a bad path, and he's ended up selling merchandise because he knew people. And, of course, if you've seen it, it opens with him getting, like, sucker punched, doing a video and whatnot.
Okay.
You gotta. If you haven't seen the very first episode, and you're like me, you're completely oblivious to everything. It had me suckered in.
So are you going to watch the rest of the series?
But I've heard it's good. I've heard it's actually really good. But if you haven't seen it, and I think some kids might actually like it, Steph Curry, Mr. Throwback is what it is. It's a mockumentary. You can check it out. So that was just a few things that encompassed my last few days, Preston Thorne, of kind of getting ready for the start of football season.
So we're here. We're ready to go.
Even by the way, a little bit of Canadian Football League.
That's ridiculous. That is not on my menu. So at all.
We'll get into a whole bunch of stuff this morning. Let you listen to. I kind of want to go back to some stuff because I haven't had a chance to discuss it with you. Some stuff from the scrimmage, what kind of came out there from Shane Beamer. Also get into this AP Top 25 that came out yesterday. Who do you think's overrated? Who do you think's underrated? Who do you think is in the top 10 that doesn't even make a bowl game? Who do you think is outside of the top 25 that ends up in the top 10? All kinds of crazy things like that. We'll get into that next. JC Shurburtt due up in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll get another recap of recruiting as well as talk about what he thought and what he heard from this past weekend's scrimmage at South Carolina. The countdown is on. How many days now?
We are 18 days away.
18 days away. We are Steve Tannehill days away from the start of South Carolina football. We'll get into all that this morning. As you're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, it is the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with your insurance company to take away the headache. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are. Are you at school? Are you at home? Maybe you're at work. Wherever you are, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of it for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass can do that too. They'll take care of it all. Windows, mirrors, showers, enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Things appear to be going pretty well out on the highways this morning. And as far as your forecast goes, 86 will be our high today with some afternoon or evening storms. Then we get a break for a couple of days where we don't really have any rain in the forecast. 87 on Wednesday, 88 on Thursday, and sunny at 89 for Friday before maybe a few isolated storms over the weekend. But currently, it's not too shabby. It's a little bit muggy, 75 on the early game.
6:19 as we get you up and get you going this morning. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. Neil weighs in this morning on our text line if you want to do so. I'm with you, Bill. I really don't think the rankings mean much at all at this point. However, I can see it being a big deal for those teams that are on the top 25 bubble, or at least for their fan bases. Are they in the top 25 or out? They could give some excitement to certain teams that aren't always in the top 25. First time in a long time, I have to go back and get the exact year that a non-Power 5, we don't have a Power 5 anymore, a non-Power 4, I don't know, however you want to look at it, is not in the preseason top 25. No Boise State, no Tulane, no Memphis, whoever you want to go with. That's a Appalachian State. I think has been in there one or two times. But first time for that, Preston Thorne.
Sign of things to come. Consolidation of college football. This just glimpse into the future. Soon you'll see some of the other conferences start whittling themselves out also.
Just the four power conferences are represented. The SEC leads with 9 teams ranked in the top 25. The Big Ten has 6. The Big 12 has 5. And the ACC has 4, which kind of brought me back to Brett Yormark's comments at Big 12 Media Day that they were firmly entrenched as the third conference here in this 4-team conference alignment. If you didn't see this yesterday, Georgia is the number 1 team in the nation. No surprise there. Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs back to try and win championship number 3 in 4 years. Ohio State at 2. All right, now I got a little. Now when I saw this pop up yesterday, Oregon at 3, new quarterback Dylan Gabriel. Texas at 4, Alabama at 5. Where do you go with those 5? You okay? You good? Because Oregon and Texas, I guess I wasn't shocked by being in the top 5. Oregon, I was.
Yeah, everybody's right there. I mean, Oregon played well. It was down to the wire last year as far as how good they were going to be. Everybody's excited about Dan Lanning. Phil Knight has opened up the coffers for them. So, yeah, there's a lot of excitement. They have multiple uniforms that they're going to wear. Cool mascot. Yeah, put them at number 3.
6 through 10 features an interesting statistic. 6, Mississippi. So at least just off of the cuff, South Carolina plays 2 top 10 teams. And by the way, does it in back-to-back weeks. Not sure they'll be top 10 when we get there. Alabama at number 5 again. That'll be October the 12th. And Mississippi, October the 5th at home, opens the season number 6. And here's kind of an interesting thing about that, Preston Thorne. It is, I would assume, kind of likely that Mississippi will come in here as a top 5 team. If you look at their first 5 games, I believe it is, in the month of September, not a whole lot of competition. Really no reason Mississippi shouldn't come in here inside the top 5 for what probably is a night game.
That's because assuming one of these other teams would lose by then?
Yeah, Texas has got Michigan Alabama and Georgia do play each other September the 28th, so you assume that whoever loses that game falls out. Oregon's got nobody in September. Oregon really doesn't play anybody until they play the well-known offensive juggernaut called Iowa October the 5th as well. So Ohio State should stand firm in the top 5. Again, Alabama and Georgia set to play each other September 28th, so that you would figure that would knock one of those out of the top 5 and allow Mississippi to slide in. Mississippi could even be as high as number 3, really, because Oregon's got a few tough ones there prior to October the 5th when Mississippi shows up. So if you're just looking at the schedule and circling games where Shane Beamer and the team have a chance to make a major name for themselves, October 5th, likely when I said top 5, but I think you could see Mississippi slide in around number 4 at that point.
Well, this national article on ESPN has actually done that. They've listed it as the key game for Ole Miss. Looking at this South Carolina game, and they're just talking about how Williams-Brice Stadium is an underrated place to play in terms of difficulty, especially at night. Didn't even bring in the local angle that we obviously have with one of their receivers out over there. So there is definitely potential for that game to be pretty stout as far as crowd participation is concerned.
I have not looked since the weekend just because I didn't think about this until you brought it up. But early on in preseason camp, Juice Wells was not participating. He was off to the side in whatever injury-colored jersey that they have and was working with trainers. I have not thought to look back over the last few days to see if he is back out there practicing. Also, Mississippi, they're loaded at wide receiver. Juice Wells, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes in here with about 3 catches on the season.
It would surprise me. I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to be one of the best that they have.
He's right now, at least going into the season with some of who they've got coming back and what they added through the portal, he is closer to receiver number 4 or 5 than he is to receiver 2 or 3. And, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for him. But keep an eye on that. Mississippi there, as I mentioned, checking in at number 6. Notre Dame at 7. And Notre Dame has a top 25 or top 20 showdown to open the season. Marcus Freeman, Mike Elko going against each other. Texas A&M, who's at number 20, by the way. Notre Dame at Texas A&M. Notre Dame, are we buying it? They go and get another transfer quarterback in Riley Leonard.
No. Notre Dame is quickly falling into the category of, don't really care.
Okay. Just they got shiny helmets, and that attracts us.
Nice,
shiny.
Thank
you, Preston. I'm here for that.
Yeah. They're falling into that category for me. Shiny helmets, young, vibrant, good-looking coach. That's about it.
Pretty campus.
Beautiful campus, touchdown, Jesus, all of that. Respect due.
Okay. If that's how you feel about Notre Dame, I can't wait to tell you about number 8. Penn State, your guy, James Franklin, leads the Nittany Lions into the top 10 there at number 8.
See, I don't have a disdain for Notre Dame, though. See, there's a slight difference. They're just, they're just kind of in the whatever category for it. Penn State, I have an active disdain. Matter of fact, Penn State, more than any other team on this list, I'm thinking, is my mortal enemy. It's just because of James Franklin and the whiteout and all the stuff that they try to do. But good thing we got Lex Cyrus from them, and we acquired one of their 4-star receivers that they thought they were going to get. So
what you're saying is if James Franklin leaves Penn State, they go back to being kind of meh.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So more of a disdain for James Franklin.
Maybe that's it.
Totally understand. Number 9, the defending national champions, the Michigan Wolverines. Now, this is kind of interesting because they open as the lowest ranking for a preseason for a defending national champion since 2011. That was the year Auburn opened at number 23 after the departure of Cam Newton. And it goes to show you, and we'll get into this later because your guy, matter of fact, I shouldn't say your guy, you were there in person from the way I heard the audio on, I believe that was Saturday, when J.J. McCarthy, who now, by the way, has a knee injury, threw a long touchdown pass. And was that you that I heard running down the sideline?
It might have been. Okay. It might have been. Talk about getting in early. I would like to state my position and stake my claim. I was here early, and we're just taking it easy with JJ. He doesn't have a knee injury. We're just taking precautions through preseason camp. We're just giving him a little bit of time to rest.
We'll let you hear Preston Thorne, who apparently made a quick trip to Minnesota to be on the sideline for the Vikings over the weekend.
Jonathan James. My dude.
To get into that. We'll get into that. But, so Michigan, they lose Jim Harbaugh. They lose J.J. McCarthy. 12 other players were drafted in the NFL's April draft. So Michigan opens with the lowest preseason ranking for a defending national champion since 2011. That was Auburn. And again, before that, Preston, the last time a defending champ was ranked worse than number 7, well, Deion Sanders is at the helm of that team now, Colorado, and that was back in 1991 when Colorado opened. So this is kind of unprecedented what they just did to Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. They lost the force of personality with Harbaugh leaving, sending it off to a rookie head coach, which he's obviously been part of the program, but he is still a rookie. And then you don't have a guy who's a veteran quarterback. So if you don't have a head coach and a quarterback, it may be difficult to keep up the same clip of winning.
Number 10 is Florida State, as we'll see them. They are picked to win the ACC. You'll get them in less than 2 weeks now when they open the season against Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. So there's your top 10 from yesterday's AP preseason top 25. Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas at 4, Alabama 5, Ole Miss 6, Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, and Florida State round out the top 10. Preston Thorne, did yesterday's top 10 announcement, was it exciting for all of them? Exciting for one team? Exciting for nobody?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good question. It was exciting for Georgia. It was exciting for Georgia being ranked number 1 because now Kirby can tell them they're all chasing us. The big dogs in the front. You know, if you want to be the big dog, you got to jump off the porch. Or he's something. He used that
some doggy analogy.
Yeah, so use some dog analogy. Other than that, it was pretty standard par for the course. Everybody else was pretty par. maybe Florida State could say something along the lines of, we should have won the national championship last year because we were undefeated.
Okay.
This year we're gotta finish number one. Something along those lines.
We'll get into 11 through 25. Just a precursor, if you're unaware. South Carolina's not going to make an appearance in our 11 through 25 discussion of the AP Top 25. But we'll get into that this morning as we roll along. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, and First Palmetto Bank. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. That gives Jacob quick and precise underwriting, which helps you in a time crunch. And right now they have an incredible product taking place in Richland County. You can get a great deal. It's called the Community Reinvestment Product. It's only in Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor. And what they're offering right now is a 4.99% interest rate with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You need to learn more about this, and to do that, you can call the mortgage guru himself and ask about the Community Reinvestment Product. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Call Jacob Crowder today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
Things moving along kind of nicely this morning. We're not really seeing any reports of any accidents. No major slowdowns that we have any reports of at this point. And as far as your forecast goes, we are looking for maybe just a little bit of some afternoon storms today. 86 for the high. 87, 88, 89, somewhere in there between Wednesday and Friday with a mix of clouds and sun to get us through the remainder of the week. But right now, it's not bad. It's 75 on the early game.
.35 as we get you up and get you going here on your Tuesday morning, August the 13th. Just rolling right through the month of August, through preseason camp. As Preston said, just 18 days away. I believe, Preston, one of the banes of your existence begins a week from today, 7 days from now, when students have their first day of classes, which means just randomly walking through. Cool to see, because we didn't have that when you and I were in college. There wasn't students kind of living across Gervais Street, if you will, on our side of the tracks here, which is going into more of what I would call the downtown area away from campus. But now with the housing that's been built, some of the apartments, you have students kind of walking across. I don't want to say Columbia. That makes it sound like they're walking a really long way. But
I mean, yeah, shout out to the city of Columbia and all the revitalization that's happened on Main Street, because wasn't the place you wanted to be in the early 2000s for sure. So that's a good thing. But yes, we have to teach the youngins how to walk.
Yeah.
Because many of them come from places where there's not a lot of walking, and we also don't let our children walk anywhere. So this is the first time they've actually walked, and some of them think that following Google Maps on their phone is more important than watching out for cars coming.
Yeah,
So,
something crazy like that. Maybe, the traffic signals
Yeah.
when the little man is crossing,
Yes.
it's okay to go at that time.
Yes, yeah. We just have to just go through just basics, maybe put it in U101 or whatever the first class they take. Sororities are rushing. Just take a segment out of the rush segment and just say, hey, young women, this is how you walk. I'm just telling you, just here for education. It's not. It doesn't need to be a big thing.
Preston putting it out there, the University of South Carolina, if you need someone at freshman orientation to teach a 20-minute class on signs and walking, he is your guy.
I can do it.
He is your guy. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning, talking about the AP Top 25 that was released yesterday. So I'm of the opinion, aside from us, Preston and myself and everybody here at 107.5 The Game and wherever else that does sports talk, I think the top 25 is kind of irrelevant. I think with the expansion of the college football playoff, it's cool. We can talk about it. Missouri, we can do that sports thing. Oh, Missouri at 11. I don't know. But that's exactly where Missouri is at. 11 for Eli Drinkowitz and the Tigers. ESPN lists their ceiling this year as 11-1, and their key game, I forgot about this game, October the 5th at Texas A&M.
That is their key game. But Bill, I'm looking at this right now. Do you know who they play in their first two games?
I believe it's Nobody and Nobody State.
You get the state part right. Murray State.
Okay.
And Buffalo.
Yes.
So
they get Pete Limbo.
That's correct. And Jody Wright.
Oh, good point. I forgot.
So do we have a chance to maybe throw an ex-Gamecock wrench in Missouri's plans? See, you got to go deep on these types of things. Maybe the two former Gamecocks are going to take their plan, because they've already been game planning them for past couple of years, so they're familiar with them. So you might want to watch out for those Murray State racers.
And that, by the way,
they have to drop on them.
That'll be actually Thursday night, August the 29th. So that'll be the SEC Network. Yeah, Jody Wright will make his head coaching debut. I did not.
See?
I'm out of the loop a little bit.
See?
Good call. Good catch.
The Murray State racers. Upset alert.
Put him on it. Chalk it up. There you go. How about that? Murray State and Buffalo. So Jody Wright will start against the Tigers, and Pete Limbo will follow. You think Jody calls Pete and is like, hey,
they're good.
This is what happened. Just FYI.
Jody calls Pete and says, hey, FYI, we're not at South Carolina anymore. Just in case.
We didn't have Spencer Rattler playing quarterback today. It didn't really matter for Spencer the last 2 years. Number 12, Utah. This just feels like cardboard. It's vanilla. It's Kyle Whittingham. It's 9-7. It's just grinded out. It's running the football.
My dudes.
Utah's a team to keep an eye on. This is why I wonder if the top 25 is relevant, because Utah's at 12. That would, I guess, technically put them in the college football playoff. Is Utah happy today? Are Utah fans like, oh, yeah, 12. That's okay. That's where we should be.
That's a great question. I don't know what the temperature or the pulse is of the Utes and how they operate. I'd imagine they probably live by the model of like day by day, head down, keep pounding, or something along those lines. They drive
their very generic, whatever trucks.
Yes.
I say generic, but they've got the Utah wraps on them. Mm-hmm. They all look the same. You walk out, you're having to hit the button to hear if it's your truck that's going off, try to figure it out.
Yeah, I probably would not think that this made much of a wrinkle in what they're doing on a day-to-day basis.
LSU checks in at 13, so that gives the Gamecocks 3 teams in the top 13 that at least we know that they will play here early on. LSU is an interesting case for me. ESPN views it almost as the same, Preston. ESPN says their ceiling is 10-2 and their floor is 5-7. And what that means to me is LSU's ranked 13th because their name is LSU and because Brian Kelly is their head coach and has nothing to do with the actual players on that team.
That's a very good point. That's a great point. Obviously, their defense couldn't stop anything last year, so that was a problem. And they don't have a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback coming back this year. So that is a big disparity between what the ceiling is and what the floor is.
LSU's got a really odd but interesting start to the season. Southern Cal, obviously, in Las Vegas on that Sunday night, the night before Labor Day. Then they'll come back home and play Nichols before coming here for that nooner against South Carolina on ABC. And then the following week, they get a home game against new Big Ten opponent, UCLA. So I expect them to be no worse than 2-2. If I had to rank it, UCLA's in a whole bunch of turmoil right now. They're trying to kind of find themselves. Chip Kelly leaving UCLA as head coach to go be the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, Preston. But interesting start to the season for Brian Kelly, Garrett Nussmeier, and LSU trying to get that defense revamped.
Garrett Nussmeier, that's the name I was trying to think about. But maybe that's why I didn't remember his name, because he's been there for a long time. And he's just finally getting his opportunity. He's definitely not anywhere close to dynamic as Jaden Daniel was. So let's see how that goes. I have said this before. I am a Brian Kelly believer, though.
Yeah.
So he will have them ready to play, and they'll be fine.
Clemson checks in at number 14, and again, I think this is just based on the recent history of Clemson because. And this kind of, again, goes to say LSU's floor was 5-7. So ESPN or whomever did this is looking at LSU saying, well, they may not be very good. Clemson's floor is 6-6. Their ceiling is 11-1. It's got them checked in at 14th. I do like how they circled the NC State game on September 21st. That game will be at Memorial Stadium up in Clemson for them as the important game of the year because Preston, the more I read about NC State last night, Grayson McCall, I don't know why I said McCoy. Grayson McCall, the new quarterback there for NC State. It's not unrealistic. Clemson is 1-2 after their first 3 games.
I mean, NC State is the Utah of the ACC. It's the same team.
Churn out 8 wins under Dave Doeren.
They're going to win their amount of games. I don't see this floor for Clemson. They won't go 6-6. They'll be better than that. But I also maybe don't see that ceiling of 11-1. I think the culture is too strong. They won't fall to 6-6.
They shouldn't.
I don't see that happening.
Their schedule really is top heavy early on. Georgia in the opener, Appalachian State, which you never know what App State's going to do. Not the easiest of the cupcakes that Clemson could have scheduled. They get that bye week, which I think will help in week 3. NC State there, a home game. That'll be followed by well-known ACC opponent, home of Katie Ledecky, Stanford showing up at Memorial Stadium.
Storied history.
Yeah, the well-known rivalry that is Stanford and Clemson. But then that'll lead them into their trip to Tallahassee to Doak Campbell Stadium on October 5th to take on the Seminoles. After that, Wake Forest, Virginia, Louisville may be a little bit more difficult with Jeff Brom, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh, Citadel, and South Carolina. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on any of that real quick. That was Clemson again checking in at number 14, number 15 on this list of the AP Top 25. It's another team that South Carolina usually faces. Tennessee checks in there. We'll get a little bit more into that as we roll along and wrap up hour number 1. When we come back, you're listening to the early game. Wrapping it up, hour one. We still got 2 hours to go. JC Shurburtt due up in the next hour, and we will discuss with him more in depth on South Carolina football. Preston Thorne, as their first scrimmage of the year took place, and we will ask you to go back to your first scrimmages of your preseason camp. Was there excitement? Was there like, hey, dude, don't hurt me? Like, it's a scrimmage. Just settle down just a like how that went for Preston Thorne over the years of trying to be like whoever the offensive lineman you had to line up against Big John Strickland was like an agreed upon, like, we want to show what we can do, but preferably don't fire off the ball in scrimmage number one.
Oh, yeah. Well, it depends on the different levels of your career. Like
That's what I'm saying.
Strick and I have progressed pretty similarly tracked, so that is an interesting concept.
All I can relate back, because back then you didn't get the media coverage that you did under Spurrier at times, was the Garrett Anderson, Lottie Ajaboy battles that would take place. And I think it was Spurrier who finally both called him idiots because they got in a fight and started swinging with helmets on. By the way, another thing that I want to come back to that I might have to ask you about, did you see the video of the Appalachian State scrimmage with the defense? I think it was the defensive lineman hitting the offensive lineman with the helmet.
Yeah.
Is that's you're kicked off the team, right? Like a coach is when you see that, there's a line on that, right? Like when you use your helmet as a weapon like that and you hit your offense. If you haven't seen it, you can Google it. It was last week on one of the days that I was out. Appalachian State, they've got like the practice camera up there at like the 50-yard line, and the defensive lineman and the offensive lineman get tangled up, and as would happen, as I'm sure in preseason camp where you're hot and bothered and you're not happy, the defensive lineman rips the helmet off of the offensive lineman and then promptly swings it and pops him in the head, which I can only imagine is not a good feeling.
No, it's probably not great. How good is he?
Really? Is that what it is? Is this the
I mean,
not all players are treated equally?
Again, if we're going through our flow chart of discipline, that's the first question that any coach asks.
Is he a starter?
On these type of issues? Now, obviously, we're talking off the field issues, but number one question: how good is he? And then we can have all discussion from there.
If you haven't seen that, you can go and Google it. It's a Myles Garrett.
It would definitely warrant you getting kicked off the team for sure.
Yeah,
But
my man for App State had watched one too many Myles Garrett highlights. I believe that's when he was with the Browns, if I remember correctly, against the Steelers. 803-404-6100. Let's get you the rest of this top 25 real quick and get Preston's reaction to this. I mentioned Tennessee at number 15. Oklahoma checks in at number 16. Oklahoma State at 17. Kansas State 18. And this one just, again, I feel like this is just a name. Let's just put a name in there, and let's put a big name. The Miami Hurricanes at number 19. Now, your computer's off. Can you name Miami's quarterback this year?
No.
Cam Ward.
Yeah,
Cam Ward, who is a big-time transfer, went to Miami. And one of the questions is Cam Ward advertised? Also on ESPN, they say the season opener against Florida State will provide plenty of immediate answers about Miami. That will be an interesting game on August 31st, the Hurricanes and the Gators. You almost feel whoever loses, whichever coach loses that game, it's a loser leaves the state game. You almost feel like to some extent.
Yeah, except Cristobal's from the state.
Right.
So he's going to have to pack up everybody. He's going to have to pack up his family. He's going to pack up everybody out of Miami and just say, we can't live here anymore.
So
he's in a rare situation where he's at home and it's not going great.
No. Texas A&M at number 20. So if you're keeping track right there in terms of top 20 teams, South Carolina has got Texas A&M. They have Oklahoma. They have LSU, who is, again, 13. You have Ole Miss, and you have Alabama. 5 teams there inside the top 20 that the Gamecocks will face. And Missouri. 6 teams. 6 teams. So half of the schedule, Preston Thorne opens the season inside the top 20. Real quick, I'm going to come back to that question for you and see what it means. Arizona, Kansas, Southern Cal, North Carolina State, and Iowa round out the top 25. But 6 teams, half of the schedule inside the preseason top 25. Woe is me, or awesome. We have a chance to prove ourselves.
Listen, man, I hear people say things like that all the time, like, yeah, you want to play the best and beat the best. Well, that's cool. But you probably don't want to play as difficult of a schedule, especially considering the idea that the amount of wins is going to be directly related to you having the opportunity to get into the playoffs. So, yeah, tough schedule. Good luck.
6 teams on the Gamecock schedule. Actually, 7. I don't think I included Clemson in that. I'll have to go back and look. I was just looking at SEC teams, and I think I forgot to include Clemson on that. I'll go back and count real quick. 803-404-6100. JC Shurburtt due up next. We'll talk some Gamecock football as we are 18 days away. You're listening to the early game.
All right, it's 18 days left. We've been telling you this time that you've been needed to get ready. You've needed to call the folks at Integrated Media. Football season is upon us, and it's time to get your outdoor setup ready. You can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof so you're protected from the rain when and if it comes. Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music so you can hear all the great sounds. Wi-Fi that works indoors so you can watch the game, use your iPad, use your phone, all your devices out there. And my personal favorite, if you want to control all your devices from just one remote, the folks at Integrated Media could do it. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or you can reach them online at integratedmediainc.com. That's online at integratedmediainc.com.
And out there on the highways this morning, we are seeing that I-20 eastbound just after Highway 6. That would be exit 55. The right lane is currently closed. Again, that's I-20 eastbound just after Highway 6. Your forecast, it's not too bad. Maybe another round of showers or storms this afternoon or this evening. Then we get a break for a couple days from the rain. Highs in the mid to upper 80s through Friday. And then we get the chances for some pop-up showers for the weekend and highs around 90. Currently, though, it's cloudy and 75 on the early game.
7 a.m., get up, get going. Tuesday morning, countdown is on. Got all kinds of football now in front of high school jamborees this weekend, Preston Thorne. We've got preseason NFL football, and even though you gave me a look of complete disdain, disgust, I think you were ready for me to leave when I mentioned you even have that Canadian Football League going if you want to get into that.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Especially... Nobody probably had a worse summer than the Canadian Football League ratings, because anybody that may have been fiending for some sporting action, you obviously had the Olympics to turn to. So Canadian football ratings, I'm sure, took a plummet this year.
Well, by the way, we'll need to put this down because I didn't know this was happening, but flag football coming to
next 2028.
2028. I need to come back and circle back to your opinion on that as well. If you want to, anything you hear this morning, if you want to be a part of the program, 803-404-6100. We've been talking a lot about the preseason AP Top 25. And joining us now, as he does each and every week, as we'll get more into some South Carolina football, JC Shurburtt, thebigspur.com. And JC, I know you were in town this weekend. You had some good friends you were celebrating and hanging out with. I believe that was this weekend. And but the scrimmage took place, so we are here, 18 days away, my man, 18 days away. And we spent the last hour talking about the AP Top 25 that came out yesterday. Let me ask you this. I think Preston disagrees with me. I say for people like Preston and I, for you and Jamie and Mike Morgan, people who do sports talk for a living, yeah, the AP Top 25 is relevant. We're going to discuss it. I don't know, though, if it's still relevant on the big picture like it used to be with now an expanded playoff. Your thoughts on the AP Top 25?
It's not. It's I think, excuse me, something caught my throat. I think with some of the national journalists, it's relevant to them because it's their buddies, and they want to continue to act like it's the gold standard or whatever. I'll say this. It's good for programs to be ranked because they run your scores across the ticker all day. They top 25. And they use it until they turn to the page to the playoff poll. I certainly think there's more thought that's put into it than the coaches poll these days. But, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And they really have kind of an old school way of doing it. Like, they don't, just like everybody, they don't want to be wrong. So they don't drop, the teams. You got to, even if you go undefeated, you got to hope somebody loses to move up a lot of the time. Not all the time, a lot of the time. So, it's fun to look at. Everybody's got their favorites, right? Just like everything. So, yeah, there you go. I think Michigan. What's Michigan in the AP? I haven't actually seen the list yet.
Number 9. Number 9. Lowest of preseason. Yeah, lowest of preseason. A defending champion. The lowest a defending champion has been ranked in the preseason since Auburn when they lost Cam Newton going into the 2011 season.
Yeah, that's probably still high for them. Considering what they've lost and the turmoil going on, the fact that their coach could be suspended, it's I don't have high expectations for them this year. So, but the defending champs, so they get thrown out there like a hamburger patty on a grill, as number 9. So, it's baffling sometimes, but. We'll see sort of what happens. I know Georgia was number 1. I don't know. You look at Georgia's roster and Ohio State's roster. In fact, the last time they played, it was a 1-point game. I don't know that I'd have put Georgia number 1. That's nothing against Georgia. But, yeah, I just think there's a lot of groupthink, and I don't know. It's been kind of a this is like the most, negative I've been about a college football preseason in a long, long time. It has nothing to do with the Gamecocks or anything like that. I'm just like, some of this stuff is just so repetitive and just so not even based on anything. We had Phil Steele on the show the other day. Sorry for my dog. And he actually does his research, and so that was refreshing. But the rest of it, man, it's just I'll talk about it. Don't avoid the conversation with me or anything. But I'm just letting you know. I'm just like, I care less what some of these writers think.
Well, I guess my point is the AP. Everything's going to change, and to your point, you look at some of this with the AP. And Preston, feel free to weigh in on this here. But you look at this preseason top 25 and what's kind of come out of it. Oregon at 3. Okay, not that I can say I have a reason to disagree. I don't know though if that's what I would have had. But Oregon's back. They've got a new quarterback in Dylan Gabriel that they've got to try and figure things out with. You know, as you mentioned, Georgia's at number 1, but Georgia's got some questions there in terms of replacing a lot of talented players. Ohio State. Let me ask this. You mentioned research. Can either of you name off the top of your head who Ohio State's quarterback should be this year, providing things follow as planned?
It's not Walker Howard. It's
wrong
Kansas
one.
State.
Yep.
Walker Howard's at LSU. It's the kid from Kansas State. Is it Cox? I don't know.
You were close. You were really close. Will Howard.
Will Howard. Okay. Yeah. So Walker Cox is actually a Gamecock baseball. So yeah, I mean, I like that. It's Chip Kelly with a dual threat quarterback, Quinshut Judkins, and a bunch of great receivers. I mean, but then again, here's my question. I mean, Chip Kelly didn't really coach like Chip Kelly at UCLA, like he did at Oregon. I'd like to see them go back to what works. Got way too pro style, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I would have them number 1. Their schedule's not as challenging as Georgia's. They haven't lost as many players as Georgia. I mean, I know Georgia's got Carson Beck back and ETN at running back and a bunch of good receivers. They're in the line of scrimmage, but I don't think anybody's dug into their defense. And look, we're splitting hairs. I would have Georgia number 2. I think they're very good. I think they deserve to be preseason SEC champs. But our preseason SEC, the other team that's predicted to win. But when you're comparing them to Ohio State, I just think, they're just a better team on paper at Ohio State. So, yeah, and it's crazy because they want to give Ole Miss a lot of credit for getting some big name guys to come in and play for their defense. Which of those guys, some of them are really legit, like the nose guard they got from A&M. But, they want to give some teams a bunch of credit for what they did in the portal. But then Ohio State, it's like, oh, no, we can't really, we got to just wait and see. And they lost their quarterback. And their quarterback went to Syracuse because he was going to get beat out, Kyle McCord. So, I mean, but then again, Oregon gets a ton of credit for Dylan Gabriel, who, to me, is not as good as Bo Nix. I don't know. It's just there's one of these things, and it's everybody's opinion. My opinion is not any more valid than anybody else's, but it's interesting the thought process that goes into it. I mean, nobody's talking about Oregon's going into a line of scrimmage league. That's Tom Luganville's the only person that I know in the national media that's even mentioned that. It's just like, oh, well, they'll be fine. Stan Lanning, who has the same record Mario Cristobal did. There, by the way. So anyway, who knows?
You did, Preston. We may have to play this game, just see if you can keep up with it. Quarterbacks and where they're at now. JC did just say Walker Howard, probably best known right now for being part of the incredibly awkward photo shoot with Brian Kelly. He is actually now at Mississippi with Lane Kiffin.
Which awkward photo shoot?
That's a good point.
Was it I think it was
the
Batman eyes?
Truthfully, the Walker.
Oh God!
I think Walker Howard was one of the very. It was either the first or the second one that stood out. I want to say there was an offensive lineman, maybe, or defensive lineman that did the first one on the camera 360, where Kelly did some really odd things, but he managed to. Yeah. But
that kind of looked like a person I know dancing on the party bus at my wedding.
I know nothing about this. That is.
I don't know either.
That is law.
No, I haven't seen any videos at all.
There's no proof of that. But no, I forgot he went to Ole Miss, so my brain's not working too well this morning. It wasn't a rough flight back yesterday, but like we landed at O'Hare in Chicago, and it took an hour and 10 minutes to get to the gate.
Oh, no.
So I had some planes, trains, and automobiles stuff going on yesterday. So I'm woken up. I'm like, But yeah, he's at Ole Miss now. But it's with these quarterbacks, it's kind of crazy. You never know.
803-404-6100. We will get into JC's thoughts this past weekend on what he heard on the scrimmage. Preston Thorne's favorite thing to say, what he loves, Professor Preston, the defense was ahead of the offense. We'll let JC weigh in, and we'll get Preston and JC involved in that discussion as we roll along this morning. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, joined as always on Tuesday morning by JC Shurburtt. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, who just about a week and a half ago came out to the house, had a little issue with the air conditioner. Some ants had gotten into it. It had nothing to do with AAA Heating and Air. It actually, some ants decided they needed to cool off. But the problem was fixed, and it was fixed instantly. That's the great thing about Roy and Dana Finley. They take care of their customers. Customer service is priority number one. And when they got that phone call, they had a technician out there within hours getting the thing fixed, making sure the Gunner family stayed cool. And that's why I love being a part of the AAA Heating and Air family, because again, the way they treat their customers. Give them a phone call today, 803-677-1500. Right now, AAA Heating and Air is offering no payments, no interest until 2025 when you purchase a brand new heating and air unit. You heard that right. No interest, no payments until 2025. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. 803-677-1500.
And it looks like out there on the highways this morning, we're dealing with a little bit of a slowdown on I-20 eastbound at mile marker 6, but that should, or by Highway 6, that is, but that should be clearing up here shortly. Just still a little bit of slowdown, but things seem to be improving a little bit as the morning goes on. And as far as your forecast goes, some afternoon or evening storms today and a high of 86. And then Wednesday through Friday, highs in the mid to upper 80s and partly cloudy conditions. Might even get a nice day of sunshine for Friday. Currently, it's overcast and 75.
$7:17. Get up and jump around, folks. School is back. You're probably taking the kids to school this morning. JC, you've been there. Preston, your days are coming. The school pickup and drop-off line.
I mean, there's a bus that comes in my neighborhood. I want to make sure everybody's aware.
You better start establishing that one early with the child.
You know what? If you don't ride a bus at least once, you haven't experienced school.
I just want to make sure everybody still knows that those are available.
I don't think it's JC is riding a bus just one. I think it's got to be like a month, to be honest.
I totally agree.
My kids, because obviously of being here at 6 a.m., they've rode a bus multiple times. I think they still do that. But yeah, I agree. You don't get the experience just one time. Do you agree with that, JC?
Where you live too. It's like our kids. Of course, one graduated, so I don't have to worry about him anymore. But the junior, he has a car now. We bought him a Mercedes of all things.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, geez,
You adopting?
regret that. But it's so he's driving now. But those kids, like they're my stepkids and my wife. When I came up here, they rode the bus every day, and I was like, man, there was something about riding the bus where I went to school back when I went to school where it was like unprecedented. Either mom dropped you off, or you rode with a friend in high school, or you drove. And the bus kids, I don't know. I mean, maybe there was a class system in District 5 in Spartanburg County. I have no idea. But the kids up here were much more apt to take taking the bus on through high school than I think I ever was. So maybe I wasn't socialized properly and, brought up the right way to learn to appreciate riding the bus.
Well,
but
let me just tell you, when it comes to riding a bus, do it in winter time when there's frost on all of the windows because it's cold as all get out. You learn to do. Have you guys ever done the print with your hand on a window where you make a fist and you use the outside of your hand and you put that on, and then you do like 5 little dots with your finger? It looks like a baby's footprint.
Well,
crafts.
No, but I'll do that this winter.
On the school bus. I'm just telling you. Bill's like, I got nothing.
I'll do it in my truck. I'll see.
Yeah, try it out. Seriously.
Get done. Well, try it. Sounds like fun.
Our studio is about 13 degrees right now. We might try that.
You might be able to.
It might be true.
Hey, after being down there this weekend, I love me some air conditioning.
No, yeah. No, don't get me wrong.
I've forgotten. I'm not used to it anymore because I've been up, I've lived most of the time here 5 years. We left Chicago Friday afternoon. It was 73, and there was no cloud in the sky, blue sky.
It was a beautiful weekend up there.
Blowing off the lake, and I'm like, and we're leaving to go to, basically Saigon in the middle of summer because it's so humid in Columbia. But it actually wasn't that bad. I've had it a lot worse in Columbia. I'm just not used to it. So I was pounding the water all weekend, so just to stay hydrated. But it is interesting.
Yeah, shout out to the AAA Heating and Air folks. The air conditioner's working great in here, but I did just see 2 penguins walk outside to thaw out after as cold as it is in this. Actually, I have Preston and I literally in the break we're just talking about. I have a blanket in my car that I'm likely about to go get in the next break. But that's.
It is exceptionally cold in your studio, and they were trying to keep it a little cooler in here because I know this will shock everyone. We have a little equipment issue.
Yeah.
So they're trying to keep it cooler, but it's not really feeling nearly as cool in here as it is for you guys, so I apologize.
Remind me, I'll come back to that bus story because I had a way, it's purely unintentional, but a way that I no longer was allowed to ride the bus. And it had nothing to do with fighting anybody, but I know that's not what people want to hear right now. So we'll get back to.
Come on, start working on a good story.
Yeah, no, just sleep on a bus. Fall asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Fall asleep and nobody realizes it.
Yeah, happened to my son.
Fall asleep and nobody realizes it until the bus is parked.
Preston too.
You fell asleep on the bus?
It's a long story.
Yeah, that's why we won't inundate people with. But yeah, if you as a child, kids, if the parents are making you ride, fall asleep on the bus one time and wait till the bus gets back to the bus yard, and whoever the driver is discovers you kind of in the back sleeping and panics and has no clue what to do. That normally ends your bus riding experience. So. 803-404-6100. There's that. Cold studios and bus driving is what, if you had that on your bingo card this morning, congratulations. Scrimmage this weekend, J.C. Shurburtt. The word out of there, Lenore Sellers did some nice things, but overall it was a struggle for the offense. Assure people, and Preston, I'll follow this up with you, assure people that some of the stuff that came out maybe about the running game struggling. Rocket Sanders not participating this weekend, being held out just precautionary. He's perfectly fine. But everything that we've talked about this offensive line did not seem to sound great coming out of the first scrimmage.
Yeah, that's to be expected, though. There have been really good offensive lines around here that have struggled in the first scrimmage. And then everybody gets worried. And then by the time the second scrimmage comes, you hear the offense had a good day because they catch up. And, look, I only get worried overall. Number one, the best part of the scrimmage, no injuries. That's the best news to come. If you look around the country, Texas lost their starting running back already. I mean, it's, there's been some significant injuries. There is every year. Carolina's just had rotten luck, experience, whatever with that. But, on the offense, they rotated the quarterbacks quite a bit, so I don't know that anybody got into a rhythm. I heard Robbie Ashford look pretty poised out there, which is what you expect from a guy with his experience and his age, kind of battling for the backup job or spot duty or whatever. I did hear that Lenore Sellers did well. I mean, the issues were O-line kind of, had some moments where the D-line got the best of them, and then drops by the receivers, which always can get cleaned up. People worry about drops a lot, and I heard Nick Harbor and Delvon Campbell in particular drop touchdowns. Campbell, that's not something that's plagued him throughout his career or anything. It's just a freak thing. But I heard Sellers threw it on a dime for about 50 yards to him it was an easy touchdown. Unfortunately, he dropped it, but you'd rather him drop it now than drop it against Kentucky, right? So those things can all get cleaned up. It's the first scrimmage. People are nervous. They're in the stadium. There's a lot of new players. Everybody, first, second scrimmage, they're battling for a position. So there's pressure on these guys. It's not as much pressure probably as a game, but there is pressure on them because, especially a receiver, and when you're pressing as a receiver, sometimes you drop the ball. There's 10, 11 guys. You can say maybe they'll be in the 2 deep or 3 deep, but you can't play 10, 11 like we talked about. So, and then the next day there was extended media availability on Sunday for practice. And, I think they got to watch a lot of this video. They got to watch a lot of the, I guess one-on-ones with receivers. Receivers caught it pretty well. Michael Smith in particular had a beautiful touchdown catch. So I'm not, it's not time to panic over that. I mean, obviously drops are not something that will be a welcome development once you get into the season. I did hear, though, but with every yin, there's a yang. I mean, Mazio Bennett had a beautiful catch where he laid out to get it, kind of like he did in the spring game. You know, he's got a knack for getting those tough balls he did in high school. So that's positive, right? You know, he's probably going to be that next true freshman receiver from within the state that starts or maybe starts and but definitely plays a lot. So there's that. I think the line will come. I just it's hard for me to wrap my head around these guys being, you know, struggling like they did last year, just from a, you know, health standpoint and age standpoint. But is it ever going to be perfect? No, it never is in the SEC. You're playing against the best defensive lines in the country. So there's going to be times where, you know, they are going to lose battles and somebody's going to get sacked or pressured or, you know, get stuffed for a loss, that kind of thing. But overall, I liked what I heard out of the scrimmage. And when you consider also on offense that, you know, Rocket Sanders and Vandrevius Jacobs will probably be two of the better weapons that this offense has this year. Neither played. So, yeah, they were down a couple of guys and went out there and battled anyway. And, you know, I think it says a lot about the defense that they did what they're supposed to do and go out there and win that, you know, get the best of the offense most of the time, that first scrimmage. That's what a veteran defense does. And, you know, I'd be a lot more worried if the offense was going up and down the field, because then you have what's the defense. So, overall, you know, I think they have to be pretty pleased with the progress. This is why you practice and scrimmage, is to clean up some of these things, penalties, things like that. I do think, you know, they'll get back to work and coach it out of them. And, you know, 18 days, like you said, you got plenty of time to get ready.
When we come back, we'll get Professor Preston's take. Why do you think, having been on the field, is the defense typically ahead of the offense early on? Maybe it's a little bit different for this team with a new quarterback and so forth and so on. But I'll get Preston's take on why that's a good thing, having been out there and experienced. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Right now is the time to give them a phone call. With school being back in, you having to get the kids to some kind of practice or dance or gymnastics, whatever it may be, you don't have time to clean the house. And to be quite honest with you, you don't want to clean the house. You need to let the cleaning pros at Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct clean. And for a limited time, when you get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned, mention me, Bill Gunner 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 2 rooms cleaned for free. It's back to school time, and Zero-Res understands that. So, again, they are giving you a BOGO offer. Right now, when you get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned, mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game, and you'll get 2 rooms cleaned for free. That's 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Use the promo code BOGO, BOGO. Again, that's Zero-Res Columbia, who you want to get in touch with. Zero-Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Very nice conditions out there. We're not seeing anything on the maps here as far as an accident is concerned. Doesn't appear to be any significant slowdowns. Earlier tie-ups have been cleared. All good news. 86 for that high today. Maybe an afternoon or evening thunderstorm. And then a few days without the possibility of rain. 87 tomorrow, 88 on Thursday and Friday. Right now, it's sun. Boy, it wants to peek out. It's 75.
$7:34 as we roll along here. I want to remind you, coming up a week from Friday, the 107.5 The Game golf tournament out with our good buddy Rock and Daniel Lucas out at Charwood. You need to get signed up today. It's the Summer Golf Classic, Friday, August the 23rd. We'll have a great event, have some onion sausage for breakfast. Can't go wrong there. I'm sure we'll have a mimosa bar. We'll be raffling away Gamecock football season tickets and, of course, giving away our ultimate Gamecocks season ticket giveaway. Call today out to Charwood. Get yourself registered. Get your foursome registered. 803-755-2000. It's 803-755-2000. Go ahead, get registered today. That is a week from Friday. We will get you ready for Florida State and Georgia Tech over in Dublin, Ireland, where we'll take our brand of football. They send us their brand of football. I guess that was more the English Premier League, but they sent us their brand of football to Willie B. We'll send our brand of football over to Dublin, Ireland on August the 24th, and we can discuss that as well as several other things. That is next Friday, the 23rd, out at Charwood. 803-404-6100. So, Preston, having been there, having been a part of these practices, why typically is it best for the defense to be ahead of the offense, and why is the defense ahead of the offense typically at this time of the year?
I hate to say it, but offense is more complicated than defense.
Okay.
It is. There's so many different things that have to happen. You hear coaches say this all the time, but you have to snap the ball. You have to catch the ball. You have to hand the ball off. You have to pass it. Everybody has to block. Everybody has to block. Not one person, but everybody. One missed block can be a play getting blown up. So that is absolutely true that offense is more difficult to run at the beginning, and it takes more repetitions to get those things right. It's more of a machine. Whereas if you have a defense, there could be, as I've said it before, you could see Preston Thorne getting double teamed off to the bleachers, and if somebody else makes a play, everybody celebrates. And only me and my coach know that I messed up, right? That doesn't happen on offense. If somebody makes a drop, as we just talked about, if somebody drops, everybody else could have did everything right. One person drops the ball, and it counts as a minus. So you typically hear those types of things for offenses being behind at this time because it just takes more repetitions for offense to get in. So I would say this. Any first, second scrimmage, you do not want – if you hear that the offense is going up and down the field like JC said, bad news for the season.
Speaking of the offense, JC, the word there, Lenore Sellers did some really nice things, but still a little bit of development for him, which is not a surprise. And so as we get closer, I ask you, what is kind of the expectation for him to lead this team in the first three games? Is it just simply a game manager and don't turn the ball over, or does he have to be dynamic, especially against Kentucky and LSU?
Any quarterback, doesn't need to turn the ball over, but I mean, he does have to manage the game as well, but I just think the kid wasn't perfect in the scrimmage. I don't know anybody ever really be perfect. It's unfortunate because I think everybody believes he's going to be pretty good, right? And you can really even tell the media availability last week. And players give canned answers. They're not going to say, my teammate's pretty average. Our quarterback's pretty average here. And I would encourage people to watch the video of it on Gamecocks Online on YouTube. It's not that. Look at the reaction in their face when they're asked about him. That's telling. look at what they do. I mean, it's almost always like a shaking of the head, a grin. You know, I mean, it's just like you can tell. You know that the guy's he's a pretty good player. But yeah, man, he threw some incompletions. I think Spencer Rattler's thrown some incompletions before, not so good passes. I mean, it happened, but you know, by and large, I can't imagine them not being thrilled with him. You know, and like I said, I heard from somebody Robbie Ashford looked pretty good too, and they rotated a lot. So if you're rotating a lot, I mean, sometimes it's hard to get into a rhythm. You know, if you're a passer. So I have pretty high expectations for him. I think. With regards to game management and turning them loose or whatever, I mean, I think if you're Dowell Loggins, it just kind of depends on the game. I mean, you know, if against Old Dominion, your running backs are running up and down the field and you're completing short passes and moving it and scoring and you're up comfortably, yeah, you probably don't need to put a bunch on film. But, you know, and then there's other games. We'll see how it goes. I mean, but I do think they're going to need him and all of him this season. I mean, I think when you have a guy like that can run, that can throw, it's such an advantage, especially on plays that, you know, maybe the play call, maybe it's the wrong call. Maybe the defense shifts. Maybe the defense disguises pretty well. Nothing's open. When you can run out of there like that and get positive yardage, if you think about last year, do you guys know Spencer Rattler would have had almost 350 yards rushing last year had it been the NFL rules and you don't take the sacks off. So there's been a lot of yardage lost, a lot of behind the chains play with sacks and things. So when you have a guy that can recognize that and take off, it's good. You know, and maybe he did take off a little early, but you know who else did that? Drove Spurrier crazy was Connor Shaw, and that the ability for him to get out and turn what could have been a negative play to a positive play, especially early in Shaw's career. It was very, very valuable and allowed Carolina to sustain drives. And when you sustain drives, you win games. So, yeah, it's nice if you can sit back and wait and let it go at the last minute and complete a big play downfield. But if you bail early and you still get that first down and live to fight another day, that's a heck of a lot better than holding on to the ball too long back there. And, you know, like I said, I'd rather have a guy that bails early than a guy that's just back there frozen and can't make a decision, you know, because that's when bad things happen in the passing game. So I can't imagine anybody is not at least pleased with Lenore Sellers right now. And, you know, like I said, 18 days from now, you know, against Old Dominion, I fully expect him to play well, and I think he'll play well all season.
Real quick here. Just about 4 minutes left in this segment. Two guys that really stood out, and Hale McGranahan with thebigspur.com had some video from Sunday's practice. Freshman tight end Michael Smith. And Preston, I'll get into this a little bit with you in the next hour on tight ends. Not really a sexy position unless you're Travis Kelce and you're dating Taylor Swift. But Michael Smith, JC, a guy that has stood out. And on the flip side of things, a guy that I know they were excited about, Vakari Swain, had good scrimmages. What have you heard about those two guys and the impact they can have this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised about Vakari because, you know, Judge Collier didn't play in the spring game, so Vakari got a ton of reps at corner. I thought, you know, they use that term flash. Flash has not been a thing, but for about 6 years, by the way. But, yeah, I think the Muschamp era is when we started hearing that. But he flashed, definitely. Very natural. I see what everybody means now because I think – when he got there, he's such a heralded recruit. You had the Dion factor involved, a lot of late offers, and he tore it up in Georgia on both sides of the ball. And then last year, Carolina didn't have a whole lot of receivers, and so you're like, just moving the offense. He's redshirt and whatever. Well, now, you know, those of us that thought that was a good idea were wrong because he is a natural corner, a big play guy. Could be one of the next great ones here, in my opinion. Now, will he beat out Judge Collier? I don't know. I think they'll both play. Judge is a really good corner as well. He's got a lot of length and athleticism, which is what you want. But Vakari did stand out, I think, naturally in the spring game, and then the feedback from the scrimmage was great. And then Michael Smith, man, got another thing I'm wrong about. We'll just talk about how wrong I am all segment. He was listed 6'4", 220 coming out of high school. He gets to Carolina, he's 6'6", 255. and looks like $1 zillion. I mean, this guy, and there's a reason Auburn and Tennessee were not giving up on him, during recruiting. He committed really early out of Savannah. He looks good. I mean, if you're Sean Elliott, now you're kind of in the boat with Mike Curry because you got 3 that are really good, and usually just play 2 at most. So I think, Michael Smith is an in-shape version of Wesley Saunders. You remember Wesley did a lot of just natural things athletically. That's Michael Smith, except he's in a little better shape than Wesley was when he got here. And so I think the sky's the limit for him because, Wesley, things didn't end well for him here, but he ended up, getting a cup of coffee in the NFL or whatever. But Michael Smith is that kind of big jumbo tight end, a lot like those guys that Georgia had, not like the kid from California, Brock Bowers. That's a different category. But I think big kid from Vegas they had that was really good. So I like him a lot. And I think, not just based off that catch at practice, but what I've heard, that guy, he's going to make some things happen as a freshman.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap it up here this hour. Preston, JC, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. We're for nearly 30 years. Larry Leitner and the Mid-State Roofing family, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And that's because they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do you think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when we've had those nasty summer thunderstorms lately? Is that what you've been thinking about your roof? Well, probably not. But I can guarantee you this. Mid-State Roofing is. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they have somebody ready to take your phone call. If you've got a leak, you need to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. And you can do that by giving them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, doesn't matter when. 12 a.m. at midnight, 3 a.m. If you discover a leak, Mid-State Roofing has an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee ready to take your phone call and help you with a maintenance contract. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Give them a phone call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Wrapping up hour 2, Preston Thorne, JC Shurburtt, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen here as we roll along. JC was down here this weekend for a event to celebrate a good friend there, and along the way you were able to kind of hang out and do a few other things, and we efforted last year. Maybe this is part of the reason we finished second in the show of the year. We efforted the Cornbread Cowboy. Never able to get him, but I think, JC, you were hanging out with him this past weekend.
Yeah, I had to introduce him to my wife. It was, he's, people up here, like around that get on Instagram know him. I mean, so, but he's a good dude. He's a great hang, man. Ori, he's fun to hang out with, and my buddy Jeff and he were hanging out, and fortunately, the night of the surprise party, we were able to spend a little bit of time with him. It was kind of rushed a little bit because we, had to go to that party and stuff, and we kind of went downtown. The party wasn't in Irmo, so we took an Uber, met up with him for a little while, and the wife got to meet him, and Jeff took a fantastic picture, so I got to give him credit for that. But it was it's always nice to see old Cornbread. I respect him, man. He's got very creative person, great actor, really talented guy. So, and really has a niche. So it's always enjoyable to catch up with him and see him out and about. And he loves the Gamecocks and is ready for the season.
Not sure anybody, if you know who we're talking about, Instagram, their star, the Cornbread Cowboy, actually. And I've told, and I believe this because I've got it from the information from people who actually would know and not lie about this kind of thing. Absolutely stud defensive back at Barnwell, I believe.
Williston.
Okay.
Williston Elko, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, really good ball player, and his story's really good, man. He was down in Tampa. I think Garcia knows him a little bit, and just started doing this stuff, and it's blown up, and man, I got a couple of his shirts, and he's good at keeping it going, like weaving a narrative, like the whole Linda situation. I've got a shirt now that says "I'm hurting Linda," So it's just fun. I mean, but beyond his ability as an entertainer, he's a great dude and really a fantastic Gamecock fan. Really, I'm just always. We had a long conversation about the team this year, Saturday night. So he's fired up and ready to go. And, he's just part of the nostalgia and culture around South Carolina that makes it special. So always nice to catch up with him.
Yeah, maybe we'll make one more effort for him this year, Preston, see if we can get him back in studio to hang out with us.
He's better. He's good in studio. He really is.
Yeah, got to make an effort.
But, I mean, I'll be honest, though. Probably your showtime is probably
it's a bit of an issue for him.
Well, if it's not an issue for Wild Bill Gunner, I don't know why it'd be an issue for the Cornbread Cowboy, because nobody. I'm just beyond impressed that you do this every day. I love it. So, and we were actually up your way, out toward the point, the peninsula there. Yesterday looking at houses.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't realize I was that close to where you live, and saw there's a little, what is it, Bubba the Love Shack or whatever, that little establishment right up from y'all. I didn't know y'all had that walking distance. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, there you go. We'll keep updated with that. Preston.
Yeah, what's it called, Bill? I misforgot. There's a little restaurant right up from y'all.
Yeah, Tunis is what it's called. Yeah,
Big Tunis, yes.
Yeah, Preston. So we get you out back to the Lexington side of town.
I got to make my way over there.
Make our way back over there. But JC, as we wrap it up here, we'll obviously next week a lot more to get into. But just final thoughts now coming out of the scrimmage and what you want to hear later on this week as we hear from the coaches and players.
Right on schedule, man. I mean, I just those injuries. This program struggled so much with injuries for dang near a decade, right? To stay healthy. That's been a big problem. There's more depth on this team, so they're more resilient. There will be an injury that's unfortunate or two. I mean, nobody needs to jump off the Bank of America building because of it. But just stay healthy, keep working, and I think things will work out just fine.
Always appreciate it. Get you back on next week, and we'll continue the countdown. Next week, we'll actually be able to talk a little bit of ACC football with Florida State and Georgia Tech. But glad you're back home safely, and look forward to catching up.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, guys. Y'all have a great week.
Appreciate it.
Take care. We'll come back. Hour number 3, we'll get back into a few other things nationally. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Preston here for the good folks at QC Kinetics. Listen, do you have arthritis pain? Do you have knee pain? Do you have hip pain? Do you have joint pain? Whatever pain you have, you need to let the folks at QC Kinetics take care of it. There are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief, and the place to go is obviously QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. So if you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery are not the only options. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future. So call for a free consultation now at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860.
Really doing pretty well out there this morning. Not really seeing many slowdowns or any major accidents to speak of. Do have a disabled vehicle where the right lane is blocked. I-26 westbound there at exit 91. So if you're headed towards the upstate, exit 91, the right lane is currently blocked. Do stay left. And while we're looking at 86 for the high today, maybe a pop-up shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon or evening. And then tomorrow through Friday, looking for highs in the mid to upper 80s and partly cloudy conditions until perhaps a sunny day on Friday. But right now, the sun is actually somewhat out. It's 76.
Hour number 3, Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. We've done 2 hours, and I'm about ready to take another vacation.
Hey, man, it's time for the season. All right, you took your vacation. It's time to get ready. It's time to go.
I did.
Let's go.
That is actually true. Yeah, that is maybe one more day off. Depends on how the Braves do because they got a big series with the Phillies next week. But that'll be it. Football season is completely upon us. We're ready to go, Preston. You get into this point, and we've talked a little bit about it today. Camp, the scrimmage. We talked about the AP Top 25 coming out. A few other things. Thank you to J.C. Shurburtt there for joining us. And again, a lot of discussion coming out of that scrimmage just as to what it means. Now, back in the day, and I'm still accustomed to this, back in the day with Steve Spurrier, you could go watch this stuff. Like, he was just like, yeah, come on, it's just like the NFL. Come on out, check us out, watch what you want. We could go out there and make our own observations. Now, it comes down to coaches speak. Whatever happened in that scrimmage, obviously information leaks out a little bit. The offense struggled. The offensive line had some penalties. Lenore Sellers did some great things, did some bad things. Nick Harbor struggling to catch the football. But you don't get to see it with your own eyes. So I think the question becomes, how trustworthy do you become of the, and it's radio, so bad place to do it unless you're on our live stream, the inside information on what the team looked like?
I think that's a fair question because when you can't see it, you have no idea what is what. I would pine for the days where you could be more transparent because what are we doing? These are not state secrets. You're going to have to line up on August 31st regardless, or if I see it now or if I see it in 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. So what are we doing? I don't know why college football has made this transition to everything is hidden.
Most coaches, right? It's the secret of Nick Saban led the way.
Yeah, but Saban won championships. He can do it. Everybody else, y'all can't do it. I dislike this movement towards this because there's no secret. If anything, at least we could see it early and maybe get ourselves prepared for what we're going to see on August.
There wasn't that you didn't get all built up for it?
Yeah.
Just hold on. Let me go back. I don't know if what you ever really participated in, but to go back, Steve Spurrier, he would essentially have the first 2 weeks open. He'd have the practices open because it was, for him, the way he did it, and I don't know if Lou Holtz did it the same way, but Spurrier's first 2 weeks weren't really game planning, so forth, so on. I mean, they would run their base stuff that everybody knew was coming. Mm-hmm. That Spurrier ran because he could just look at the defense and be like, that defensive back doesn't look very good. We'll just throw it over there at that guy. Or Spurrier didn't care about it. And then he would even have scrimmages that were open to the public that you could go and watch because he wanted to get his guys in the stadium with fans in there just so he would see how they react instead of a completely empty stadium. And so we would be able to come back in the day and go like, for example, I still will never forget, I think Steven Garcia in a scrimmage was something like 15 of 17. And the two incompletions were drops. Otherwise, he'd have had basically the perfect scrimmage. And we saw it with our own eyes. And we went down, we had to interview Spurrier afterwards. He's like, Steven wasn't very good today. Couldn't really hit the targets, couldn't really do it. I think Steve Fink was standing behind, he was 15 to 17. Spurrier's like, it wasn't very good. And so if you're not seeing it in person and watching, and I think I was working with JC in the Big Spur at that time, and you're like, no, Garcia looks pretty doggone good today. Like,
yeah, I mean, you got to take the coaches at their words and deal with the insider information. We'll see what all of that means. I think when you hear the phrases like the defense is ahead of the offense, that's what you want to hear at this point, at any point in any season, because as I stated earlier in the 7 o'clock, it is a lot easier to be good on defense early, especially. Now, here's the point I was going to make. I don't want to ever hear this whole preseason. I don't want to ever hear the offense beating the defense this year. For this particular defense, if this defense says they're going to be record-breaking, historic, they have all the people coming back. Donuts, all of that. The offense should not be good this year in camp. And that's fine because that should mean that we're playing against a really good defense in camp. And then when they get to the season, they'll be more prepared. So I personally, I don't want to hear the offense having any or minimal success. They can run plays, they can do whatever they want, but they should never be ahead of this particular defense because there's a new offense, there's a new quarterback, there's no receivers, offensive line. All of those things line up to where they should have struggles in camp this season. And to me, that would be fine for me to hear. If we hear that the offense is getting the head of the defense, that would be bad news for this particular team.
You're probably right. I do think even if it's misguided trust, and that's why I ask you, people want to hear the offensive line. And maybe Shane Beamer should just say that if nobody's watching. Just after the next scrimmage. Just
great.
Be like, the offensive line mowed them down. I think we would have run for 500 yards.
You can't. That might be a little bit, but if you could say they're improving, got better today.
Did they bolster? I do want to get into this.
You can do those
Is
types
the chemistry
of things.
coming together?
Chemistry coming together. You can hear all those types. But the thing is, if this offensive line, if this defensive line is who they're supposed to be, then yes, the offensive line should struggle because this defense is supposed to be the heart and soul of this particular team. So I won't have any problem with them struggling because all that means is when they go to face other teams in the SEC that they'll be well prepared.
803-404-6100. We'll get back into some of that. I don't think, did you have a chance to, as I joke about bolstered and chemistry, I don't even know how to describe the Deion Sanders look from, I believe that was last Friday.
Have you seen his press conference? I did.
The gray beard, essentially, and
I'm developing a little bit of a theory here on the gray beards, but I did see it.
Okay. And Deion, if you haven't caught up with this, Deion last Friday, a little feisty with media members. Where does this lead you to believe on our scale of Deion makes it through the season? When you see
right on track.
Mm-hmm.
The press is treating them bad. These guys didn't appreciate me while I was here. This place wasn't conducive to me. It's time for me to leave.
Okay.
Also, North Dakota State ranked number 2. So, on the way.
You think he even gets out of the first game?
Yeah.
Is that fair for a coach that way? The way he acted?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. What are we doing? You're the state's highest paid employee.
Especially for a 4-8 team.
You can't answer a question, or you're gonna have to take out some personal vendetta. Steve Spurrier did the same thing, so I'm not saying there's no precedent for this.
Right.
But be an adult and answer a question. Come on, man. You get paid a lot of money, and for somebody to say, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you because the way I saw what you did. I'm not taking questions." Get out of here, man.
Yeah, if you didn't see that, you can go back and watch that video. It was not the best press conference that Deion Sanders has had, and now I think it opens up when you take a stance like he did, and you basically tell the CBS guy, "No, we're not dealing with you," and then you question reporters. You better win, and you better not open 1-4.
What a baby!
And that program, we talked a little bit about the article coming out last week about players being forced to fight for their manhood in the locker room, and one player owing another player $10,000 and getting punched when he asked for it. As you said, maybe next time don't let the debt get to $10,000 to begin with.
Yeah,
but
not going to pay you back.
A lot there going on in Colorado. We'll get into a little bit more big picture college football. We'll also get into a little bit of NFL from the weekend as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market, where, boy, did they help with the vacation tremendously, whether it was oysters, whether it was their bacon cheddar burgers, whether it was a great round of steaks or some fantastic salmon. Old Timey Meat Market had me covered, the family covered, I should say, as well, during this little vacation, and they will do the exact same thing for you. You know what? Tailgating season is just around the corner. This weekend is a great opportunity to do a little practicing. Get by one of the 3 locations and check out the incredible selection, always with the best price at Old Timey Meat Market. Whether it's St. Andrews Road in Irmo, the Lexington store, where you'll generally find me, or the South Congaree store, Old Timey Meat Market is a one-of-a-kind butcher shop that not only caters to you and what you want, but they do it with a friendly smile. They make sure they know your name, and they make sure you get the right cuts of meat. Whether it's pork, chicken, or beef, you're going to find exactly what you're looking for. Get out to Old Timey Meat Market today and start your tailgating experience.
Moving things as far as the traffic conditions this morning, things not going too bad. We do have a bit of a slowdown, though, on I-26 westbound. There at exit 91, the right lane is blocked. So if you're in that vicinity, I-26 westbound at exit 91, going to want to try to get to the left to get through there a little bit easier. But, man, your forecast just can't beat it. We're looking for a high today of 86, maybe a couple of afternoon or evening storms. That system kind of clears out for a little bit, and then we have a mix of clouds and sun for Wednesday and Thursday, high in the mid to upper 80s. Sunny and 89 for Friday. The sun is out right now. It's 76.
Reminder, a week from Friday, the 107.5 The Game golf tournament. Preston and I will be out there broadcasting bright and early. Preston will be getting ready to hit the ceremonial opening tee shot. We'll be hanging out with Rock and Daniel Lucas. We'll be getting ready for the first weekend of college football, Preston Thorne. Week 0, which, by the way, we'll have Chris Deering in on Friday. Friday, by the way, we're going to have a really fun show. We'll have Chris Deering to start talking about high school jamborees this coming Friday. We'll talk about high school jamborees. But we will also have Julian Phillips, former Blythewood standout, now with the Chicago Bulls. He's got a basketball camp coming up on August 24th. And so we will have a Chicago Bull in studio with us, Preston Thorne, an NBA player who will be a foot taller than me, I believe. Should be another interesting day. But next Friday, we will start. Next Friday is two things. We'll start getting ready for the college football season, which, again, highlighted on August 24th with Florida State, Georgia Tech. You also get perennial ACC team. Can't say power. But you also get SMU playing at 8 o'clock that night.
Ooh.
Against Nevada, actually, which it's an 8 o'clock game on CBS Sports Network. I feel like that's one that it ends up like 52-48, SMU and Nevada, and you're just sitting there like you don't have a rooting interest. There's just scoring and no defense whatsoever.
I do not think about Nevada at all during college football. Shout out! I know we just a transfer receiver just came from Nevada, correct? But I don't think of them as a unit, staff, team, or anything.
And as I look at the ESPN line, good reason, SMU's a 26.5-point favorite in that game. But Florida State, Georgia Tech. So we will get you ready for that. But also a week from Friday, as we will be out at Charwood, hoping to see you. We'll get you ready for high school football, which gets going as well. So go ahead, call out to Charwood, get signed up today. Friday, August the 23rd. It'll be the 1075thegame.com. Excuse me. The 1075 The Game golf tournament. You get the point. You figured it out at Charwood. Get registered today. 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. We're supposed to do message board mayhem right now, but we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to do a segment of Preston was right. Preston is on the bandwagon. Join now or forever be left behind. Let's just start with this clip from the weekend. This is Preston's guy. Maybe a cousin, maybe not. J.J. McCarthy, former Michigan quarterback. And you decide, is this Preston Thorne on the sideline narrating what happened?
I think I'm going to keep. Oh, there we go. Oh, here it is. Jackson, and with Justin Jefferson cheering on the sideline, it's 2013 Raiders. I mean, this is the greatest, Justin. There we go, Paul.
We get Justin on, and the offense decides to wake up.
They say it's Justin Jefferson. That's what they said. as I saw it, it could have been Preston Thorne doing the interview and running down the sideline to meet J.J. McCarthy.
This all goes back to that one play in the national championship game. Double reverse pass, catches it offhand, completes the pass for a first down, leads his team to a victory. It was at that moment that if I was an NFL GM, he would have shot up to the top of my draft board and been the number one quarterback pick. But that's okay because he's fallen to us,
yes.
As at number 10 as the Minnesota Vikings. We have Sam Darnold in place right now as the starter. That won't last long.
No.
Our guy, J.J. McCarthy, is moving up the boards quickly, getting himself ready. We're holding him out of practice today. A little bit of knee soreness, and that's fine. But I was here first, and I just want to let everybody know. I was here first. Jonathan James McCarthy, my guy.
Yes. Yeah, Preston, and that's why this segment, sponsored by the Miles Agency, is Preston was right. Jump on the bandwagon or be left behind. Yes, you were on this way earlier than everybody else. And, yes, J.J. McCarthy, 11 of 17 over the weekend for 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. He even ran around twice, had 18 yards, and might have just tweaked something a little bit after the game. But, yeah, you're feeling pretty good about this one, are you now?
Well, we're going to see. We're going to see what the rest of the Vikings offense is worth. Again, we're going to move Sam Darnold out the way very quickly. I don't think that'll last long, but I'm here for this one. I really do like J.J. McCarthy. I like what the Vikings have done. And if I had to stake my claim to any quarterback, but a lot of the young quarterbacks look pretty good. Caleb Williams looking fancy out there, throwing the ball sidearm, moving around. Looks like you might actually have a quarterback, so we'll see about that.
I'm actually cautiously optimistic.
There is reason. There is reason for that. So, yeah, a lot of the rookie quarterbacks looking pretty good.
Look, remember, it's not like the Bears were awful last year. They're not the White Sox. They're not the White Sox.
At least we ain't.
They're not the White Sox, but it'll be interesting. I tell you what, Jen, I don't know if y'all played this yesterday. Let's also go to another quarterback who maybe everybody's a little bit more interested in, who had a good week. Let's play 25 here. This is Spencer Rattler showcasing that 4.95 speed this past weekend for the New Orleans Saints.
When you get down in the red zone, whether you're playing on offense or defense, down in the red zone, you want to impress a coach, this is the time to do it. Make a play in the red zone.
3rd and goal from the 4. Rattler, everybody covered. Rattler taking off, heading for the pylon, drilled though out of bounds. Short of the goal line by Darren Hall. That's the 3rd play that Hall.
They would end up ruling that a touchdown, and I like the commentary right there leading up to it, basically saying, you want to impress the coach? Make a play in the red zone. And Rattler made a play. Old crazy legs Rattler, just sprinting around out there, dual threat guy. Solid, very, very solid debut by him. And as they're saying, in the effort to become the team's backup, we'll see. Derek Carr, who knows?
Yeah, I like Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr has been a solid NFL quarterback, and he'd be solid to have on any franchise for sure. But I think the future is Spencer Rattler, and he's going to be the guy that's going to take that helm on, especially as Dennis Allen is sort of on, I don't know if the hot seat, I'm not sure what that's looking like down there. But it's just been really interesting to see the national media take notice of what we obviously locally have known or championed last year. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that.
What's really cool also that he makes basically his NFL debut in his hometown. I mean, I don't know how rare that is. Originally from Phoenix, obviously, before going to Oklahoma and then on to South Carolina. I read the article that mentioned his mother. Not that I had a reason to know this or anything, but as a second grade teacher there at one of the elementary schools, and they brought some students to the game, and you get Spencer Rattler leading the team down with a 12-play, 56-yard drive in the final 2 minutes that ended with a 37-yard field goal right there with about 4 or 5 seconds left to win the ball game. I mean, for Spencer Rattler, I know it's not a regular season game. Dream scenario, though, for him to go to his hometown, Arizona, Phoenix. You get the point. To make his NFL debut, and turns out to be a pretty solid one in his fight to be the backup quarterback.
Yeah, he's on the path. He's on the path, and whether it's due injury or just maybe they want to try something different. I could imagine if the Saints season doesn't start going very well, there might be something that happens.
That's what I'm saying. You're exactly right about if the season kind of gets off to a poor start, how things kind of develop and go for him. It'll be kind of interesting. It is Tuesday, so we may as well just do a little transfer portal Tuesday.
Okay.
But I saw some people overly excited that Marshawn Lloyd goes down with a hamstring injury for the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, all right. That's going to be interesting to see. We saw him. We know the talent was there. Disappeared a little bit at USC last year. He was fine. Got drafted mid round. I'm not sure if we would be paying attention. I mean, he's just one of a number of mid-range running backs in the NFL right now.
Right. Yeah, one carry.
He's going to have to make the roster.
One carry, 8 yards for him before he went down with an injury over the weekend for the Packers. Should be back. Is going to need to get back for him to probably make that team or be kept around as a third, maybe even a fourth running back over the weekend, but not the debut he wanted for Green Bay. One other one that I'm kind of tracking just a little bit, a game that I'll watch to get a bit, by the way, and I'll get a little bit more into this, a game that I got into a little bit on Sunday afternoon, the Rams and the Cowboys, and now kind of looking to see what happens with Rico Dowdle in that Cowboy lineup and where he ends up. Some discussion about him maybe making a play. They did bring back Ezekiel Elliott. Good luck with that, I reckon, for the Cowboys. But you had Rico Dowdle, 3 carries as they're trying things out. 3 carries, 14 yards on Sunday afternoon for the Cowboys.
Yeah, Rico's still hanging around, which is surprising. And it's more so not a journeyman.
No.
Been with the Cowboys this whole time. So there's something that they really that he's impressed them in the organization. He's bounced up and down between practice squad on the roster, but Rico has made himself a pretty solid living as an NFL guy, and at this point, he'll stick around for a while. I mean, was this year 6? Year 5, maybe?
I believe it's year 5.
But year 5,
Has it been that long?
It's been a solid long time, and he's been with the Cowboys the whole time, and he's made himself into a nice little NFL career for himself.
He's got a chance to see extended plays this year and a lot more carries. Again, he had 3 for 14. That really wasn't the Gamecock storyline on Sunday for Dallas. I don't know where, because he is, I'm going to give you the name in just a second, but he is coming along in his second year in the league. Jalen Brooks, Preston, I think, is a guy that I just feel like we're going to look back on and wonder, boy, did kind of like Spencer, did we max out his talent? Last year was kind of quiet, just 6 receptions last year for him, but he had 2 on Sunday for 49 yards for the Cowboys.
Yeah, one of the things about Jalen is he was a transfer portal, came in, had some personal issues. There were some reasons why he wasn't playing, and let me speak for myself. I was never privy to those reasons why, but we know he missed some time for personal reasons. It wasn't exactly physical health. There were some other things that were happening, and so that might have hindered his productivity. But there were flashes, if that's the word we're using.
He made some tough catches that we didn't see.
There were some plays that he made when he was here. I would not have predicted him to have this sort of staying power in the NFL.
Well, just his second year. He played in 7 games last year.
Let me repeat that. I wouldn't have predicted him to have this amount of staying power in the NFL. But he's here, and he's making plays, and he seems to have found a spot on the roster, which is good for him.
Yeah, for a team that's looking for a few more receivers to add some depth, he's got a chance to really step up and be that guy. Trey Lance, by the way, they gave him a ton of time. Stetson Bennett, it was really the Stetson Bennett-Trey Lance show on Sunday. Bennett, this is kind of odd for a preseason game. Bennett threw it 38 times, completed 24 of them, which wouldn't be bad if he hadn't also completed 4 more to the Cowboys, which was not his team. Trey Lance got to throw it 41 times and carry it 6. So they were looking at backups in the future there, especially with Trey Lance looking into the future with Dak Prescott's contract.
All things in consideration, you either get Stetson Bennett or Trey Lance. What you going to do, GM Bill? Who are you going to take? My choice is extremely easy.
Stetson Bennett or Trey Lance?
Mm-hmm.
But I watched a little bit of it. I'd probably go Trey Lance.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd go Stetson Bennett, especially considering that this is Trey Lance's second stop. A lot of money. Give me Stetson Bennett. We can work on those picks. I just don't think Trey Lance has it.
Okay. And you look, we're down at the bottom of that barrel with the razor blade, scraping it up right now.
I mean, they're going to play quarterback in the NFL, so
we're scraping it up a little bit. By the way, on that Rams-Cowboys game, did you watch any of that? Did you catch any of that at all?
Mm-mm.
I know that they can't do this during the season because it doesn't work. Sean McVay was, depending on how you want to look at it, was so bored figuring, it's a preseason game, that he did commentary as the coach on the sideline in I know it was the third quarter also, but I believe the first time I saw it was in the second quarter. It was fascinating to listen to Sean McVay coach, not Mike. He was mic'd up, but he was talking to the booth. So he was actually doing commentary. Remember, after he won the Super Bowl, there was a lot of discussion that he might actually just retire and go do color commentary, television, similar to John Gruden. Sean McVay is going to be really good because that's in his future. But it was entertaining to hear him coach a game and talk a little bit about losing assignments, talking about gaps where the Trey Lance would run out. It was really good stuff. I know they can't do that in a game, but boy, if they could find a way to mic up some of these coaches and get in-game commentary as plays are happening, sign me up. That would be a lot of fun. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap it. We'll get into a few other things. Go back to some Carolina football as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
Hey guys, it's Preston for your broker, my broker, Benji Getzi at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience easier, closing faster, easier, cheaper, and friendlier. Since 1997, Benji and his team have served thousands of investors with their dreams of real estate investing, and they specialize in DSCR loans and fix and flip financing. Benji and his team are VA, FHA, and USDA government loan experts, and they offer competitive jumbo financing, as well as conventional and construction lending. So call the good folks at Buford Lending and get Benji Getzi at 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
I-26 westbound. So I-26 westbound around mile marker 102. Very slow going in all lanes. So just pack some patience, but things are moving slowly. Again, that's I-26 westbound around mile marker 102. And could see a pop-up shower or storm this afternoon, sometime after lunch. And then again, maybe in the evening as well. We're looking for a high today of about 86. And then 87 tomorrow, partly cloudy conditions, 88 on Thursday, and maybe even additional sunshine come Friday with a high of 89. Right now, it's actually, it's kind of nice to see the sun, 76.
(803-404-6100) if you want to weigh in this morning. Want to remind you about the Ultimate Season Ticket Giveaway, where one winner will get season tickets to all South Carolina home football, baseball, and women's basketball and men's basketball games. You can register by going to 1075thegame.com and clicking on the Ultimate Season Ticket 2.0 on our media reel. Just again, go to 1075thegame.com. We will announce the 3 finalists, and then they will have to show up at our 1075 The Game golf tournament. Reminder to register for that. You'll have to show up, though, out at Charwood Friday after this, August the 23rd, where we will announce the winner. This is sponsored by the Men's Clinic at the Irmo Professional Center. Again, 803-404-6100. Talked a lot of South Carolina football in the 7 o'clock hour with J.C. Shurburtt, Preston Thorne. We spent the 6 o'clock hour, though, talking about the AP Top 25 and the relevance of it. You say you go with still very relevant. I say it's relevant for us who do this discussion and do sporty sports talk to, JC going with, JC, by the way, maybe a hot take, going with Ohio State over Georgia. If he had a AP Top 25 ballot, he would go with that. The other news of that was that Alabama starts the season with its lowest ranking since 2009. Michigan, the lowest ranked returning champion since 2011 when Auburn with Cam Newton won the championship, and after Cam Newton left, opened the season at number 23.
Yeah, it does not matter to this season. I want me to be clear. Let me use my words better. It doesn't matter to how the season will outcome. It doesn't mean anything. But if you're saying whether it's relevant, every building that is mentioned and on and off this list is talking about this. And any of these coaches that get out here and say, we don't worry about the list, we just go out there and practice, they are all telling bold-faced fibs, because I'm not supposed to call people liars. But they are telling fibs if they're telling you that they did not see this, that they did not recognize this, that they do not have a qualm with where they are on this list. If they're saying that, they are not telling truths.
Let's listen. This is David Hale. And because I'm interested to hear this, David, a little bit of a Clemson homer at times, but he was on Paul Feinbaum yesterday talking about the low AP ranking for both Alabama. Let's just pump the brake. Alabama's 5.
It's low. Exactly.
Alabama's 5.
That's my point.
All right.
That's my point. That's my point. That's my point.
You think Kalen DeBoer just went around everywhere and just put up the number 5 this morning? Just had staffers get there. You think Saban's like poking his head and like, hadn't been ranked this low. So what are you doing over here? You've already called us. This is David Hale talking about the low ranking for both Clemson and Alabama, who I don't think either are lower ranked. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is, first of all, let's not act like Alabama fell off a cliff here. They're
number 5.
But that does speak to where Alabama has been. And yeah, look, Clemson's 3 years now of not bad football, top 25 football, but not championship caliber football either. And it is crazy to think that these were the standard bearers, and we're really in a transition time. I mean, I think you can look at, I did our 100 as part of our 100 player ranking, which I think is coming out next week. But it's hard to kind of go through that and come up with like these marquee names this year. This feels like a year that's just sort of a strange year in general. Not a lot of the guys that were in the Heisman race are back from last year after having so many of those like 4th, 5th year, 6th year quarterbacks. You got the team that won the national championship last year. The head coach leaves, plus a dozen guys going to the draft. It's an odd year in college football. We don't always get very many of them, so I'm kind of hoping that translates into a really fun year of college football. But I think there's also a little bit, to your point, Paul, of like jockeying for like who is the standard bearer now. Certainly Georgia has made its case over the last 3 seasons. Is there another team that steps into that mix, whether it be Ohio State, that certainly looks very talented? Oregon has a ton of pieces in place. Texas, obviously, or maybe it is still Alabama or, frankly, Clemson. I mean, I think a lot of folks around Clemson think this is their best team in quite some time. I know there's still some question marks, and reasonably so, on offense, but they should be real good on defense again. And one thing that you can't knock Dabo for, he is consistent. He will tell you that he is optimistic beyond all reasonable belief at this time of the season every year. And so he is, once again, if you want to believe, by all means, I encourage you to do so. Maybe want to grab a drink or two along the way.
What do you take? What do you take there?
First off, the idea of a lot of folks around Clemson is saying this is the best team in a long time. I wonder who the folks are. Have they looked at their roster? Have they compared their quarterback that they have now to the quarterbacks that they've had in the past? Have they compared the wide receivers that they have now to the wide receivers that they had in the past? Have they compared the defensive linemen that they've had in the past? Because all you would have to do is just turn on an NFL game on Sunday, and you would see Dexter Lawrence, you see Trevor Lawrence.
Tyler Davis mentioned the preseason. Tyler Davis was fantastic the other day for the Rams.
You'd see all of these guys who used to play for Clemson, who I don't know what these dudes will be, but they have had dudes in the past. So I don't think that they have anything close to what their past teams is. But I do think they'll be good because I do believe they have a strong culture and a good coaching staff.
That's him talking again. That's
and they recruit well.
David Hale talking about Clemson and Alabama's low rank. He's right. It does speak volumes to what Alabama has been opening season at number 5, and first time since 2009 they've been that poorly ranked. Poorly, I think, is the right word to go for. One other thing from college football yesterday, Preston Thorne. I jumped just to kind of see the topics yesterday so I could kind of prepare. I jumped on the text line to kind of see what y'all were talking about. I saw something that was a pump it or dump it.
Yeah. We was pumping and dumping the new Jelly Roll song.
All right. Oh, wait, that's what you were going with?
We did Jelly Roll, and now there's some more things that we could possibly do.
Jen, we're going to go with number 5 here from today. This is now, I don't know. They're saying this is the theme. I don't know if this is just the commercial. I don't know if this is just the commercial. I kind of tried to look yesterday because the CBS Sports, the CBS on SEC on CBS Sports, that was iconic. That was iconic. I remember in college, I actually had that as a ringtone. When you had to buy the ringtones, you might still have to buy ringtones. This is the SEC on ABC. This is at least what they're using, what I'm being told is the theme for this year. Here is the music.
This is the SEC. Every walk is a parade. Every song, a symphony. Every Saturday is a celebration. Every game, a spectacle. The SEC takes us into the wild and always feels like home. This is the SEC on ABC, and this is how it's done.
I don't get goosebumps.
Boo!
Yeah, that stinks.
Boo!
It does not just mean more.
Yeah.
Send that back.
Yeah.
This steak is not cooked the way I wanted it done. Send that back to the chef. Get that out of here.
Yeah.
See, the thing with the Jelly Roll one was that song gets replaced every year. So we hear this is an iconic piece of music that they're
Lenny
trying
Kravitz.
to.
Yeah.
No. Not
Well, that's who they used.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Get that out of here. I'm talking about what they tried to replace. They tried to slide in this dribble with a fake Lenny Kravitz and maybe some auto-tune Quavo in the background.
Yeah.
Instead of the iconic theme. Ooh! Get it off the stage.
We'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up with this. I feel like there's more to digest with this new SEC on ABC. I don't know if it's just the commercial or the theme song. Hopefully it's not the theme song. I'll agree with Preston on that. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm, where they are ready to help ease any tax burdens or feelings that you've had lately. That's right. If you've received one of those nasty notices from the IRS and you've been a little stressed out lately, it's time for you to give the Ecton Law Firm a phone call and get a free consultation. Whether you're here in Columbia, whether you're in Florence, or whether you're in Myrtle Beach, the Ecton Law Firm has local proven solutions that can help you navigate the IRS maze. So again, if you're having some stress, if you're a little stressed out and worried about this tax issue, don't let it be. Contact the Ecton Law Firm today and see what they can do for you. And again, it all starts with a free consultation. So again, you can get in touch with the Ecton Law Firm and talk to them, get that free consultation, 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Give them a phone call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where Larry Leitner and the family, they have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for nearly 30 years. And it's that kind of history that can assure you that their professionals will provide proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner that is both safe and pleasing to you. And they do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doesn't matter when you make that phone call. You can speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee. So give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, or you're listening on our 107.5 The Game app this morning somewhere across this great state, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, whether it's manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
This is the SEC. Every walk is a parade. Every song, a symphony. Every Saturday is a celebration. Every game, a spectacle. The SEC takes us into the wild and always feels like home. This is the SEC on ABC, and this is how it's done.
We got clarification during the break. Producer, sometimes a co-host for us. He's filled in admirably for me the last few days.
Ultimate glue guy.
Utility guy. Super utility. He's the Whit Merrifield of 107.5 The Game. Super utility guy. Tyler Head has popped his head in the studio and let us know that this is just the promotional commercial, not the actual intro. He says that is dropping, did he say August 31st with the first game?
I don't know the date that is dropping, but there will be a date
he
later.
gave us it. I think he
But
said,
you know what? If this is a promotional piece, then I'm not super excited about what's coming because this should really catch you.
I like your thinking.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now give me some Lenny Kravitz all day long.
Yeah, because while I was out, I'll admit, I thought I saw all the hoopla and the gnashing of teeth and everybody getting very, very excited. I thought that the Jelly Roll song for ESPN, also by the way, ABC, they're together, so no reason the Jelly Roll song couldn't have covered all bases, even though this was strictly an SEC thing. But I thought when I first saw that the Jelly Roll song was going to be the new Game Day song.
Mm-hmm.
I do think they've got to revamp the Game Day song.
Mm-hmm.
We got to go back to just Big and Rich.
Got to go back to it?
Got to go back to the initial version. Like, we got one too many people involved in this thing now, and it's time to just get back to what was originally.
Go back to basics, run the ball.
I'm going to, stick with what's the Valentine's story from you?
Run the play.
Run the play.
Run the play, man. We know what works. Run the play.
Yeah, stick. No need to update that. If you want to update it, I know this is not going to sit well with a lot of you, but I'm going to go down this path. If you're going to update it, give me some Jason Aldean, give me some Luke Bryan, give me some Morgan Wallen, Southern.
Okay.
The guys who look. I don't need a Northerner trying to do my. No offense to any Northern, but Kid Rock I like, but no, we got to go with Southern boys who have been around football, have attended these colleges, have an affiliation with Tennessee or Georgia or Auburn or whatever they want. Yeah, that's where we got. But we'll get into all that. Couple less than 2 weeks now until we get get a new game day. I think they're sending the game day crew over to Ireland for that Florida State Notre Dame game.
Okay, all right, that's cool for them to go over there. Then they have to get back for the rest of the games. We'll see. Not super excited about that. I wonder if they looked at their itineraries like, ugh.
No, I think that would be good with that. Like, I assume what I can only assume is a paid for trip, much like Snoop Dogg got a very nice, handsome paycheck for hanging out in Paris for 2 weeks and hanging with horses and doing whatever else he was doing the entire time, talking with Martha Stewart. Nothing horrible about that.
Okay.
So, but Tyler has informed us. Thank you, Tyler, for that. This is just the promotional piece that you will start seeing on ABC whenever you watch your whatever sitcoms ABC is putting out this year. You can check that out. But wrapping things up here, we've talked a lot about the AP Top 25. We've talked a little bit about South Carolina football. We'll continue to get into that a little bit more tomorrow, Preston. But as we roll through the week now, I asked JC this. What do you want to hear from South Carolina as we get through the week a little bit?
I told you what I want. I want to hear defense dominates.
Oh, total domination.
I want to hear defense dominate. If this is what this team is going to be built on, if this is going to be a pillar of success for this team, I want to hear that the defense stays ahead. Yes, the offense is working. They're improving. They're getting better. They're putting together some plays. But I do not want to hear that the offense has jumped ahead or moved ahead or anything like that. I don't want to hear the defense having a bad day, because in order for this team to do well this year, they're going to have to play very well on defense.
We're slowly getting to that time where we start to really break down that first game. We start to break down what is going to take place with Old Dominion. We start to break down where the depth chart is.
I can't wait.
Yep. We're getting to that. We're getting closer by the day. Tomorrow will be another day. We'll get to Wednesday. Again, busy week kind of in front of us. We'll get back into Josh Harris. I am excited on Thursday to get into. We might have Josh Harris for 2 segments. What occurred at NASCAR this weekend needs some more discussion. Friday, again, Chris Deering will get us into the Jamborees, and we'll have NBA player Julian Phillips, formerly of Blythewood, in with us. Busy week, Preston Thorne.
Let's do it.
All right, we're creeping closer. Y'all have a great rest of the day.